Hey everybody, welcome to the second session for our summer 2024 fellowship week. We are looking at the theme of joy as it comes to us from the book of Philippians. And tonight our focus is from Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. These verses remind me of a poem that one of the ladies who passed away in our church several years ago wanted read at her service. And the phrase that she wanted repeated was this, that my life is so full that I drink from the saucer. Now that phrasing comes to us from a poem attributed to a man named John Moore, who writes about how his life, he compares his life to a cup, and that cup is setting upon its saucer, very formal time, setting out on the saucer overflows into the saucer, so he's actually drinking from the saucer. So his life and the richness of his life, the joy in his life from his family and from his friends and from his faith is overflowing the cup of his life and into the saucer so he can just drink from the overflow out of the saucer. Well, these verses remind me of that poem because they describe here the relationship that we have with each other, out of Paul's relationship that he has with the Philippian church, and how their actions can make his joy complete. And so let's look at this here today in our passage. Philippians chapter 2, verse 1 through 5 says this, "So, if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus." There's a lot here within these verses, and for our purposes in our study, just a few minutes of devotion, we're just going to hit a couple of things. First of all, I want you to notice some principles that Paul draws out of this passage for us. One of those principles is that joy comes from a community. Joy comes from being in relationship with other people. You notice that phrase where he says to complete my joy. The New American Standard, the NIV, maybe a few others have the phrase, make my joy complete. And so Paul here in these very first verses is making an appeal to the Philippian believers in an action that he's going to reveal in a moment that they take that actually impacts his joy. Now his appeal comes to them because he assumes and he proposes that they are in fact in Jesus Christ, that they have received comfort, that they have received love, they have fellowship with the Spirit, that they have a sense of sympathy. And because they possess those things, because of what Jesus has done for them, they then can complete his joy, or make his joy complete because of what he has done. And so their actions, in a sense, a community together with Paul, helps to complete his joy. I think there's a principle here for us that when we look about joy in our lives and building joy and possessing joy and living a life of joy, we need to understand that the Bible proposes that joy is actually completed and made to the full in the context of relationship with each other. The world around us says to find joy, find happiness in all the things that you do, all the things you accomplish, the list of accolades that you can put down in your obituary when you die. I mean, all of these things. But what Paul is saying here, by the Spirit of God, that joy grows in our lives and in the lives of others in relationship with each other. He uses the phrase, make my joy complete, complete my joy. The phrasing there, those three words from the Greek New Testament describe make, joy, and complete. The word make has a sense of an action. It is to make full. It is to cause to abound. It is to fill to the top so that nothing should be wanting. The word joy here, it describes the feeling of joy that's received from another or from an event. That word is used in Matthew to describe the Magi's joy that they expressed when they saw the star over the house. The word joy is used in Luke chapter 15, verse 7 to describe the condition of heaven when one sinner repents. Joy is a response to people, circumstances, things. So the word complete, though, means to fill, to the full, to abound. And this is where the idea of overflow grows in my mind. That the joy we have in our lives, because we are rooted in Jesus Christ, experience His grace and mercy and love and fellowship with the Spirit, which unites us to His body, unites us to other men and women who are in Jesus Christ. The joy that we then grow in our lives, that grows in our lives, and we participate and grow in our lives, overflows our lives into the lives of others. Think for a moment, people in your life who have just such joy and such graciousness about themselves that they're just contagious to be around. That people just love being around them because they are joyful and they're contagious. You know, that's what Paul, I think, is identifying here. And not for all of us to be the outgoing and the extreme optimist and Pollyannish about our lives, but to understand that the joy we have in response to what Christ has done and the places that He's put us and the people He's put us around can overflow into their lives. Well, he doesn't just lay out the appeal, he then lays out some actions. So the appeal is to make joy overflow. The actions actually help us to do that. Notice just briefly a couple of things that he does. He says he appeals, he calls them to be of the same mind, have the same love, and in the same accord and one mind. I like the way the Phillips paraphrase puts it. It says, live together in harmony, live together in love, as though you had one mind and one spirit together. So the actions that we take that grow joy in our lives and help to grow joy in other people's lives is a spirit of unity and actions that we take to help demonstrate a sense of unity and connection with each other. Well, how do we go about doing that? Let me suggest a couple of things. One, to grow unity with other people, we need to practice patience. I'm sure you wish I would have said another word, but patience is hard. Patience comes from a biblical word that means long suffering. It means enduring. But we practice patience. It helps us to grow in unity with each other. When we practice listening, James reminds us to be quick to listen and slow to speak. When we do those things, it grows unity in our fellowship and unity with other people. When we extend forgiveness, then instead of withholding forgiveness, but extending forgiveness, that actually grows unity with each other, that we are united together in this thing. If we remember the reason for our unity, that's why Paul appeals to them from the very beginning, that if you have received Christ, if you know His love, His grace, His compassion, then do these things. You know, because of our unity in Jesus Christ, and we appeal to our unity in Jesus Christ, we can grow in our joy. Another way to grow in joy is a willingness to compromise, to get along with other people. You know, there are some things in life, as a Christian life, matters of conviction that we cannot compromise upon. There are also preferences by which we can compromise on. One of the great problems, maybe problems is too strong of a word, one of the great challenges that we have in the Christian life is that many of us have taken our preferences and elevated them to matters of convictions and where they should never be. There are convictions we never compromise on, but there are preferences that we do. When we take this type of action to build unity, we actually grow joy within our lives and in the lives of others. A second action he calls us to is to pursue the gain of others, pursue their welfare. He writes, don't be selfish, don't try to impress others, be humble in thinking of others as better than yourselves. And that doesn't mean don't think of yourself well, but what that means is it describes a sense of antidote of not thinking of yourself too well, that you're just better than everybody else, that you're comparing your life to other people and just come to the conclusion, well, I'm just better than everybody. Paul says that's not a way to build joy in your life, and it's not a way to build joy in other people's lives. One of the worst things, again, that may be too strong, one of the hardest things in our current culture, and it's impacting so many people from teenagers to adults, is the sense of comparison that comes from social media. So many ills that continue to come up again and again and again through that means of connection. And not that all social media is bad, but it has some negative consequences. One of which is we have a sense of comparison. We compare our lives to other people. We look at their highlight reel on their social media page, whatever platform that is, and we compare that, well, they had a better vacation than we did. They ate a better dinner than we made. Well, they had a nicer home, or they have a better looking spouse, or whatever it is that you feel a sense of comparison to. And what Paul tells us here is that when we pursue the gain of others rather than elevating our own self, which often happens when we do a sense of comparison, we rob ourselves of joy. Or we don't rob ourselves of joy, we pursue the gain of others, we increase in joy. Joy grows in your life and the lives of others when you avoid elevating yourself, but recognizing the value that everyone has. A third action, we'll go through these quickly, is that we care about others people care about. He says, look not only to his own interest, but the interest of others. In other words, care about what people care about. When you meet somebody, you find out who they are, what are the things they're passionate about, what are the things that they're interested in, and you draw a sense of caring for that. Not that you would need to do what they do or be interested in what they are interested in, but you actually care about that because you care about them. And when you care about other people and you show an interest in their lives and show an interest in what they care about, that builds a great sense of joy in your life and a great sense of joy in others. When people say, hey, that person gets me, that person understands me, I feel a connection with them. That grows a sense of joy from that interaction. You can probably think of a time you met somebody and you asked them about themselves and they just went on and on and on about all the things that they did and didn't give you a second to interact. My guess is you didn't really seek them out next time you saw them. When we care about what other people care about, joy grows in our lives. But then lastly, a fourth action he gives is to possess the mind of Christ. That is to think like Jesus. We've been given the mind of Christ here. Paul then calls us to look to Christ as our example, who gave himself up for us, one who demonstrated great sacrifice, added humanity to his flesh, did not hold on to his deity as something to be grasped and clung to, but rather gave that up by adding humanity to himself, being forever changed, being ever fully man and fully God. He did that, humbled himself, so that we might be restored to God. What Paul is saying here is that we build joy in our lives by looking to Christ, to the author of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross. He did these things for us, and when we look to him and how he lived and how he loved and how he cared for people, and then we model what he did, we practice how he lived and how we live and how we love and how we care for other people, joy grows within our lives. When we strive to live out of the overflow of life, the richness of family and friends and the blessings of God within our lives that pour out into our lives, we become a tremendous blessing to other people. What Paul is drawing here in an appeal and an action is an understanding that joy grows out of relationship with other people. Complete my joy. You Philippians, complete my joy. Joy grows out of relationship with other people. And secondly, joy grows in our lives and in the lives of others by the actions that we take. Subsequently, joy can be diminished and joy can be destroyed by the actions we also take. So let us strive together to look to Christ, who is the author, the perfecter of our faith, and for the joy set before him endured the cross, Let us, for the joy set before him, look to him as our head and strive to build joy, to make my joy, to make your joy, to make others' joy complete and overflowing because of how we live and how we love each other. Thank you for taking time to be part of this group. Have a great discussion.